Hi, welcome to another edition of The Whole Message here with Mark and Melody outside the kitchen.
Outside the kitchen?
Where we, you know what we love as much as cooking? Talking about food.
Yeah, this is like our news desk.
It is our, you know, we need a ticker tape behind us.
In today's news.
Yeah, carbohydrates are better for you than you think, which is something we want to talk about.
Today's headline.
Yeah. What do you think about the rap on carbohydrates?
Carbs?
Carbs.
No. Can't eat
C-A-R-B
carbs.
is not a four-letter word.
Carbs are problems, aren't they?
Well, there are some bad carbohydrates because there is a difference, Mark. There's a complex and there's simple.
Yeah. What's the difference?
Well, simple carbohydrates are something that has come from a good carbohydrate, let's say a potato, and then we fry it and make a potato chip, or we fry it and make a French fry. So we took a great complex carbohydrate and we processed it. Mm-hmm. So that's what it is. It's processing our good carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Simply.
There was a post on Facebook the other day, and it said, we should not be asking why healthy foods are so expensive, but be asking why junk food is so cheap. And I thought about this, and I said, well, now to me, that's not really an intelligent post. Because if you look at a potato, a pound of potatoes, how much does that cost compared to a pound of potato chips?
Oh, I did the math on that before, and I do believe 10 pounds of potatoes
For $3?
for $3 to $4, depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
Yeah, no more than that.
Even $10 at $1 a pound.
Well, but your potato chips, you know, when they first started out with potato chips, they were like 16 ounces, they were a pound. And then they went down to 14 ounces, and I think now they're down to 11.5. And the same size bag.
Yeah.
Well, they're the same size bag.
Yeah.
We've just got more air.
So it probably costs you a couple $100 for 10 pounds of potato chips, when it only costs you $10 for a pound of potatoes. 10 pounds of potatoes.
Yeah. Well, and if you go in and buy some of the name brands, you could spend over $5 for that bag of potato chips. And then think of all that you get out of those bags of potatoes all by themselves. And Mark, we can live on a potato. It is a it's a complete food. So you can survive on a potato. But now again, you have to be careful because there's side effects, because you would have to eliminate some of your medication and some weight loss.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. It's the perception that junk food is inexpensive when it's really not. I mean, junk food is extremely expensive.
Well, think about the effect after you're eating all the junk food. Now you have diabetes, now you're obese, and you have heart disease, and you have high cholesterol, and I can go on and on, arthritis. I can name several of them. And now you have to buy all the medication. You have to pay co-pays. You're sick.
Yeah.
So is junk food really cheap?
And even fast food. If you look at fast food restaurants, people have the perception of it being relatively inexpensive because everything's a la carte. But when you buy this and buy this and buy this, pretty soon you're into it for a $5 or $10 per person meal. And it's like, that is extremely expensive. Fast food restaurants are extremely expensive. So when you're talking money, I mean, save some money and eat some healthier food at home.
I say this, if one person goes out and eats twice a day, hypothetically, let's say your meal is going to cost between $6 and $10. So that is about $20 a day, correct? Okay. Okay, and what is 2 times 3? 6?
Okay.
So
you're making me think.
Other side of the brain. So we're spending $600 a month on food. What I would like to see somebody do, which I like to do, is take that $600, divide it in half, and put $300 into your home budget to buy new furniture with ladies, or new clothes with ladies, or gentlemen, tools, whatever, and take the $300, buy the food at home, eat healthier, eliminate the doctor bills, eliminate the prescriptions, and add to your home.
So I think what we need to do is go in the kitchen and show these people how to save enough money to get your new furniture.
Ooh, we're going to cook some good carbs.
Let's do that, and we'll see you in a bit.
Hi, Mark Anthony here to do another fun segment with you with Melody Prettyman. And Melody's been touring the country, and I had to drag her off the streets to bring her in here to do some serious cooking.
In my big girl pickup truck?
Yeah, the pickup truck. Man, is that a big pickup truck?
That is a big truck.
Wow, that's
I like that. I look down on everybody as I'm driving down the road. I feel like I do. I call it the big girl truck.
yeah, you're so high in that thing, you might have to look down to see heaven. I mean, it is really big.
It's nice to be tall when I'm so short. When I'm standing here next to Mark, one of these days I'm going to get a stool and be
Get you a platform, I'll be like,
there you go.
how's that, better?
Yeah, it is.
Hey, we're doing some stuffed
What are we?
spaghetti squash. These are spaghetti squashes.
I love spaghetti squash. It looks like you've already roasted it.
Yeah, it's cooled down a little bit. And it's probably going to still be hot in the center. But I want to get this baby cut, and I'm going to cut right along the edge here.
Sure.
And then I want to kind of get a little bit of an angle because I want these to be the exact same size, of course.
Surprise inside.
There we go.
Beautiful.
Let me just crimp that edge there.
And why do they call it spaghetti squash, Mark?
Because it looks like spaghetti.
It does when you eat it.
I'm going to have you grab that trash can over there. And we're going to,
Down here,
yes, it's not
in
going.
case anybody asks us, it's not on the floor and there's no animal down here eating it.
Okay, so that one's
Awesome.
ready to empty.
Oh, look at that.
And I'll leave that fork, and you're going to put it right in there.
You want me to put the whole thing in there?
Well, just, you're going to scrape it out and, yeah.
Okay, you have to pretend like I don't know what I'm doing. Like he has to pretend. No.
Now, I never said that.
I didn't. You know what? It's kind of funny. As many times as Mark and I have been in the kitchen together, he can think something and I do it, and I can think something and he does it, don't we?
Yeah, mind reading a lot there for sure, yeah. Especially with the big events.
Oh yeah. We bounce off of each other all the time.
Okay, so you want to keep the outer layer intact because we're going to stuff these with the same product back in there. So that's going to go right back in here. Now what I'm doing, you can actually take this. There was an actual class, I did a show on spaghetti squash that you can just mix this with some flavor and eat it.
I like it just like this.
Right, but what I want to do is add some ingredients to it, stuff it back in here, and then put it back in the oven for another half hour.
Like a twice baked potato,
Right,
but twice baked spaghetti squash.
that's kind of what we're doing. Stuffed spaghetti squash. So right here I've got some of the chicken style Butler soy curls, and you can chop them up in pieces if you want, or you
Why don't you put some here for me, Mark?
put them whole. however
Chop
you want
some
to.
up.
Okay. And
Now, are they seasoned? Is this just raw right out of the package, hydrated?
well, these I actually soaked them in a chicken broth,
Okay.
a chickenless.
Chickenless broth.
Yeah, and I get that at like Whole Foods,
Okay.
little chickenless, beefless, those type of bases. And but then you just add whatever ingredients you want to it.
Oh, wow.
Now I'm gonna make one for my wife Brenda.
Miss Brenda, I love Miss Brenda.
I'm
She
going
is my
to-
dear friend.
She likes the buttery type, so I'm gonna put some of this vegan, what do they call that?
Earth Balance.
Balance, yes, thank you very much. And then whatever flavoring you want to put in there. Now Brenda, she's a big olive person, so I'm going to do some black olives. I'm going to stay away from all that. I'll do some black beans though.
Because
And is this garlic?
that is garlic.
Okay.
What Brenda likes garlic and onions, but she likes them pureed.
I'll do a little celery.
Little texture there for her.
Okay. So whatever you really want to do, you can really be creative here. Flavor-wise, I've got a little salt here. If you want salt, you got it. You got the Butler here. Since we're doing the Butler chicken, my brain's just going.
That's okay. Soy curls.
Yeah, since you want the Butler soy curls, this is actually a Butler chicken style seasoning that they made that has a really great flavor. So we can actually mix some of this in there as well.
You know, Mark, I've talked to Dan so many times with Butler Soy Curls on the phone. He has sent product to me when I've done different events to use the product because it's the only soy protein based, like TVP or whatever they want to call it, that I will use because it's non-GMO and it is organic.
Organic.
And I love this product. I use it all over the United States. I tell people about it when I'm in my seminars, and Mark, you use it as well.
Yeah, and let me tell you, we talk about products here. We show products on the television and everything. We don't get paid by these companies.
No.
We're not spokesmen. We just want you to have that information about what's best. And I'm actually using Daiya cheese right
I
here.
love the Daiya cheese.
So I'm going to put a little bit of this in there as well. And so this one's mine. This is the one for Brenda.
Mine. Now, did he sound like my little brother? Mine.
Mine.
Although he's a big brother. Mark is older than me.
Who?
Mark, I said,
Mark.
is older than
Is that your son?
Yeah, I was just kidding. Shh. I do have 2 wonderful sons. I have 2.5 grandbabies, which because I have one on the way, and 2 daughter-in-laws, and I love my family. They're precious to me.
You would never know having grandkids.
I love my grandbabies, yes.
So all we're going to do is stuff this, and if you want to put yours in there too, you can.
I'd like to have a little bit of that chicken style seasoning, I think, Mark.
Okay. Got that right there for you. And what do you think? That's stuffed about as stuffed as I want to get it.
About as stuffed as you can get it. Looks like turkey at Thanksgiving, right?
Well, and the one of the reasons why I grabbed these smaller ones was that way you can do an individual portion. Some of those big spaghetti squashes are just way too big for one person, but this would be a pretty good.
That would be a whole meal with a salad? Mm-hmm. Oh, awesome.
And 2 points right there. I'm going to grab some of this
What do you got there?
breadcrumbs. You're not going to want it on yours, but
I don't want breadcrumbs on mine. It's not that I don't want it, folks, but I'm celiac, so I cannot have it.
you want gluten-free recipes? Melody has them on her website.
Yummy.
You can go to melodypertyman.com, and I don't get paid for that plug either. So, but it's a good place to go get good recipes, especially for celiac. But I'm going to put a little bit of this on the top just because I want a little toasting action. And, ooh, yours looks colorful too. I'm going to have to kick it up a notch since yours looks so colorful. Let me move this over a little bit.
There you go. Oh,
Come
yes.
over here.
My favorite dill. I think dill and basil are my 2 favorite herbs, and I use them in a lot of my cooking.
Everything. Yeah, me too.
I do too.
Plus it grows like wildfire, So, okay, so we're just gonna do it like that. This is gonna go in the oven for about probably just 30 minutes. We just want to get the top toasted because mostly it's warm and hot. And
For about how long? 20,
I'm thinking
25
30 minutes on 350. So that's what we'll do, and then we'll come back and show you the finished product.
Well, Mark, I wonder how good that stuffed spaghetti is.
Squash. Now it's been in here for about 30 minutes.
Okay.
So. And look at this.
Oh my.
There
Hot?
we go.
Hot?
Yeah, it's hot. The pan's hot and everything. My hands can handle it just because,
You're used to it?
yeah, I've burned my hands so much.
I'm a little sensitive.
Can't even feel them, but.
Now that is the gluten-free for myself. Mark,
Okay, that's hot.
I added a little bit of the chicken seasoning. It has lower sodium in it, but this one has very low sodium as well. And that's up to the individual. You put in it what you need, but just keep it in mind, we're educating on health.
Yeah, and you can see where it's toasted here on the top and everything.
All that,
so
I wish I could
that's what
have
you're
that.
looking for. And people would look at this on the plate and they'd be like, wow, now that's something different.
And really, calorie-wise, you can eat a whole one of these with a salad and have less calories than if you did one of those little diet portioned foods that you get in the frozen department of your grocery store.
Except the one that I put the Earth Balance in.
But I think still you'd get, because there's still fat in those, I think you'd still get less fat in this.
And it's better for you though.
Oh, sure it is.
Anything that you eat plant strong, is whole foods, natural foods is going to be far better than what most people eat.
That's right, that's right.
Well, that easy. And make sure you share this one with your friends. Go to the websites, chefmarkanthony.com, melodypertyman.com, and of course we've got YouTubes and Facebooks and other social networkings to share this with your friends and family. And we will see you next time in the kitchen.
Good night. Hi, Melody Prettyman here with your health tip for today. I want to talk to you about eggplant. I love eggplant. You know, when you're in the grocery store and you're looking for the healthiest fruits and vegetables, make sure you choose the ones with the beautiful, bright colors. They're full of phytochemicals and phytonutrients. That's what you want in your body. You know, the eggplant, a whole cup of cooked eggplant is only 20 calories and absolutely no fat. It's high in vitamin C, extremely high in potassium, 188 milligrams for that 1 cup, and it's very low in sodium. You know what? Whether you bake it, whether you steam it, cut it up raw and eat it on a salad. Remember, when you eat your eggplant, you're just one bite away from healthy living.
Hi, Mark Anthony here to show you how to make a really awesome vegan cheese. And I call it Jack and Dill. Instead of Jack and Jill, we have Jack and Dill. So it might be a pretty good tongue twister for you. We've got some boiling water here, and I'm going to add some agar-agar powder. If you have not used agar-agar powder, Asian food stores have it at a really good price. Probably what you've seen is agar-agar flakes, like at Whole Foods and places like that, but that is really expensive. And so I pick up this agar-agar powder from the internet, and I get whole pounds like this because I use quite a bit of it, and you'll save a ton of money that way. But it is a lot cheaper. This is one of those items that really nobody knows about. I've been using it for years, just starting to see other people start using it, so maybe they're catching on to what I'm doing. And what we've got to do is just give this a boil for 2 minutes. So and right here we've got 4 cups of water and 6 tablespoons of the agar-agar powder. I'm actually making a double batch today. And what I'll do is I'm going to put a single batch on the end of the clip here. I'll put the recipe for the single batch. But today I thought I'd go to the extreme and give you a double batch. And we're just going to let this boil for 2 full minutes. Okay. Now after it's been boiling for about 2 full minutes, you can see it's really thickening up, and it's even kind of sticking to my wire whip there a little bit. And so that's what you're looking for, just like 2 minutes. And it is good to go. And we're going to put this in our blender here. This will be an interesting experiment doing a double batch, because usually I'm doing single batches. But I wanted to do a double batch today. So a lot of times I don't create double batch. You can create any double batch, but a lot of times you do a double batch and it doesn't come out right. Your spices might be a little off or something. For some reason, it just works that way. So, okay. And we've got a few more ingredients we're going to put in here. Cashews. I've got 3 cups of cashews here. And 2 cups, I'm sorry, 2 cups. I got to pay attention because I'm doing a double batch here. My numbers might be a little off. A couple tablespoons of lemon juice. And all this can go right in the blender. Nutritional yeast flakes. If you have not used nutritional yeast flakes, they're fantastic. And I've got 2 tablespoons of those. This is just a dry powdered soy milk. So I've got 2 tablespoons of that. And a couple teaspoons of salt. This right here is onion powder. And so I'm going to put a teaspoon of that in there, and a half a teaspoon of garlic, and then some mustard. We'll put some dry mustard in there, about half a teaspoon there. And so that's all we have for the ingredients. We're going to give this a blend and take a couple minutes. I'm going to, kind of scoot it down a little bit and make sure it's working good. And then we'll put this in right at the end. I'll actually get this chopped up and get this put in right at the end. Woo! Okay, now I can see why I like to do a single batch, because that is a heavy load on this blender here. So definitely do a single batch. And we're going to pour this right into a plastic container here. And woo, boy, does that smell good. Man, this is just, you are going to love this recipe. This is probably one of my most popular recipes out there. And you notice there's nothing really unhealthy about it. You got some cashews for a little bit of oil inside the cashews, but that's a good oil. A lot of calories from fat there. But portion for portion, it's not a lot of cashews. It's mostly water and spices for this one. So just like that. Woo! Now this baby is going to go in the refrigerator. And that's why I like it in a plastic container. Then we can just pop it out of there. So we'll put this in the refrigerator. It's going to have to sit overnight, and then we'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, let's take a look at what this cheese looks like. It's been in the fridge overnight, and I can already see some condensation moisture here. So we are going to just take a towel and try to get as much as that condensation out of there. So, but you can see how firm it is. This is really going to be good. Don't worry about the cracks. That's just not a big issue. But you want to get that condensation out of there. Okay, so nice thing about putting it in a plastic container is you just go like that and boom, it is good to go. Now what I want you to do with this, there's a couple things you can do, all depending what you're cutting for. Let's say you want to do cubes. So you would take it like that size. Look at that, isn't that something? So you could actually cube it. Boom, 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 boom. And just like that, make the cubes any size you want, big or small, doesn't really matter. So you've got cubes like that. Or if you want to do slices, you can do slices and make them. So whatever you're doing, that's what you do. And of course for crackers, things like that, I mean, these would be the best little cheeses. And the amazing part is, once you get this down to a science, man, you can do so many different things with it. You can do different colors, different flavors. But just to recap here, all you're gonna do is take the boiling water, add your agar powder. That's where you need to know exactly how much to add to that. Bring it to a boil for a couple minutes. Then put that in the blender and add your ingredients. Add your cashews and all the flavored ingredients that you want. Give it a blend, make sure it's well blended. Then we're gonna put it in the refrigerator overnight, bring it out, and this is what you have. So that easy. And of course for storing, I'm actually gonna store it right inside here. So it's that easy to do a vegan cheese that tastes fabulous. Mark Anthony here. We will see you next time for The Whole Message.
Hi, Melody Prettyman here from The Whole Message with your health tip of the day. Today, the banana. Low in calories, high in potassium, great for your complex carbohydrate, vitamin C, even protein in the simple banana. Whether you eat yours frozen for an ice cream, or you use it in a smoothie, or even in one of your baked breads, don't forget the banana. Remember, you're always just one bite away from good health. Well, Mark, here we are sitting in the dark. Kitchen's clean.
It's been a long day.
No food. There's no food here.
I'm exhausted.
It takes us about 2 days to kind of get back to the normal. I know it takes me a week to get my hands back in.
But I've got my tea.
Tea.
Andrews University cup. Gotta love that.
Herb tea at that, with a little stevia.
Wow, that was a lot of work.
It was, but thank you, Lord.
Yep, our studio's all dark and cleaned up, and it takes you a while to get those dishpan hands cleaned up too, huh?
Oh, yes. Oh, well. That's
Yeah, people don't realize how hard we work to put these programs on.
You know, Mark, that just like that, I was thinking about the first time I ever met you.
Yeah, we worked that weekend, didn't we? Yeah. She comes up at a camp meeting, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
I was searching spiritually, and I had just really learned within the past year about the health message in a way that was helping my life, because I was sick, obese, and
That was when you were starting to get healthy?
just starting, and I was cooking plant-based, and I'd been a vegetarian for years, but plant-based was different, and my mother always wanted to come to 3ABN, always. My mother's a supporter of 3ABN and always wanted to go to the camp meeting, and I called her and said, hey Mom, do you want to go to camp meeting? And she said, are you kidding? And I said, no, but I said, I can't go to the meetings because I heard Molly Steenson at the time making a plea for anybody who wanted to come and help donate their time to help the chef in the kitchen. And I knew with my culinary experience, I thought, well, he could probably use my help, you know, I'll see.
Yeah.
So I went, my mother and I came.
With or without culinary experience. I mean, we get any volunteers we can. I mean, I put people, you know, can you stand there and take tickets at the door? Whatever.
Carry a flag.
Right, yeah, the flags.
I love that.
Oh, man. And, yeah, Melody comes in and she's like, yeah, and it was like, was it Friday or?
It was a Friday, and I asked
During rush hour, yeah.
during rush hour, and I asked one of the ladies, I said, is Chef Mark Anthony here? And she said, yes, he's here somewhere. And I said, well, I'd like to speak to him. And he come around the corner, you could tell with his little hyper self, you know, all getting ready.
600 or 800 people in line, you know.
I said, can you use help? I said, I'm a chef too, and I cook vegan. And he's like, sure.
So I put her right on a station and just, you know, got her working on something. And it was, you know, and I'm checking back every 5 minutes. I'm like, you know, because I want to see how people work, you know, and you know, she had the knife in her hand, and then I'm like, you know, but she had all her fingers, and I checked that first, of course. But, you know, I got to be real careful in the kitchen. I've only had to kick off, fire 2 volunteers. And
You could actually fire volunteers.
yes, you're fired. You know. I didn't say fired, but I just said, you know, we just can't use you here. You know, go volunteer at the print shop where they don't have harmful equipment. Like, you know, but it was they were dangerous. They were dangerous to the people and to themselves. So, but Melody was like, I was like, yes. So, but that was a busy weekend.
It was, and I'll tell you, I learned a lot, and was just, I might not have been to the meetings where I got the feeding of the spiritual mind, but I got such a spiritual blessing being there at 3ABN and helping you. And I went on my way back home.
Yeah, but that wasn't the end of it.
No, no.
You know, I see volunteers come and go when I do these big events, and it must have been, I don't know, was it a couple months later? I'm going on a tour, and one of the churches that I had on my tour was your church.
Seventh-day Adventist Church there in right outside of Columbus.
So you must have heard about it ahead of time through the flyers that were there.
I think somebody announced it at church. I told my pastor, oh, I know him. He's going to be really good. And I called people and let them know he was coming and that they would want to be there.
And when I saw her, I was like, great, I got somebody to help. And so, yeah, you helped, and we just talked, and I think I had an extra couple days there.
You came, I think you were there a day or two early, and I grabbed my little granddaughter, and she was 3 at the time, and I thought, oh, I'm going to get Mark's to try this burger at this restaurant. It was a vegan burger, and I thought, oh, between his palate and my palate, he'll know how to do this recipe. So I took him over to this place to eat that burger, and we just talked. I mean, we really had a long talk, and I helped you, I think, in the kitchen a little bit prepping, not much. But.
Yeah, kind of seeing where we were in our lives, and what we wanted to do with purpose.
And I had not done the first seminar at that time. I wasn't working anywhere.
Right. But you had lost what, maybe 50 pounds before I met you, and another
Probably
50 afterwards, or?
No, I think I had lost 20 or 30 before I met you, and maybe another 30, because it was slow for me. But I'd lost significant weight.
Aren't you 100 down now? Or?
Yeah.
So
I got 20 or
Amen
25 to
that,
go.
huh? But anyway, so, I'm thinking about it, and God's impressing upon me, and I told Melody, I said, you know what? I said, why don't you come down to 3ABN and help me with the camp meeting? I said, I can't afford to pay you, because we don't get paid, like we should, and we just volunteer. I mean, even the Mitchell sisters, they volunteer time to put on the cooking shows and everything, and that's part of our contribution. Yeah, you came down to do the
Fall camp
meeting, and which was a real blessing, but then my van blew up that weekend or that week. I was running into town for something, and my van blew up, and I mean, boom, it's dead. And John Hauser had to come pick me up.
Yes, he did.
And then you stuck around for a couple more days, though.
You asked me if I would stay and help you get from place to place, and you had cooking programs to do for 3ABN, and said this would be a really good opportunity for you to stay here and watch, because you could see what it takes to do that. And he said, with your experience, I believe that they would use you.
Right. She was clicking with the people there. And then I said, yeah, can you stay for the couple days, and we'll show you how to do the cooking shows. The Mitchell sisters taught me how to do them. Everybody kind of has to have somebody to help coach them.
Mentor.
Through it. They're not going to just let anybody go up there and cook and that type of thing. But the thing about it was, God was impressing me to give you a donation before you left, and before I blew up my van.
And I had no idea.
And,
he didn't say anything.
But the van blows up, and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do a donation now. I just can't, just because, I didn't know how much a van would cost, and I had no money to do a replacement. Had a little bit, but so anyway, what happened after that?
Well, I stayed there to get through the cooking program, and then
you were driving me around everywhere.
I was driving you around, or I said you could use my vehicle, and I had to go back to Ohio, and you had a car that they let you use there at 3 a.m.
Right, and the day after you left, I went out looking for vehicles. Because I was looking on the internet. In fact, that night when you left, I called a few places. But yeah, so anyway, God's impressing me. He says, you know what, Mark, you need to give her a donation. And I was like, oh, this is not the right time. I'm out of money. But when God talks, you listen. And of course, listening, actually in the Bible, in the dictionary, you know what the definition of listen is?
To take action.
Obedience.
Obedience?
Yeah. One of the definitions of listen is actually obedience. See, there's a lot of people listening to God with their ears, but they're not listening to God with their actions, doing what God is asking them to do. And I said, no, I'm going to listen to God. And so I gave her a donation. But I actually gave her a real substantial donation, a lot more than I was going to give her in the first place. And I hid it. I put it in an envelope, and I hid it in her computer. And on the outside of the envelope, I wrote a message. I'll never forget it. It said, this is to jumpstart your new ministry. Because she wasn't doing these things, but we had talked so many times about what I do.
And I really felt like that's what God wanted me to do too, and so.
But you needed that jump start.
Oh, I did, because it takes a lot of money, supplies. I thought, okay, how am I going to do this? I felt like I had the knowledge when it came to food, and I didn't know how I was even going to get up and talk to people, even though I was learning all this new knowledge. But financially, I just didn't have the money to do it.
And she's been doing these events and teaching people how to get closer to Christ through the health message ever since.
Ever since. This has been my full-time ministry. But the funny, it's not funny, but I'm on the road, and I left him, and all the way home, I just felt so full for the blessing for that camp meeting, because we get a lot of people coming in and helping and talking and sharing their stories. And even though we're in the kitchen working, we don't get to sit through the meetings, but there's still a spiritual feeding that we
satisfaction
get. There is. And to know that I could stay back behind and help Mark, because I really felt like our relationship was blooming into probably the best friendship I'd ever had. And I got down the road, and I thought, I got to stop and get some gas. So I was reaching over trying to get my purse and get some money, and I opened up my computer bag for my charger for my phone, because Mark knows me, I'm going down the road and it's my office, it's my communication, because there's nobody with me, and I talk to people on the phone to keep company. You know, or I'm praying, or I'm singing, listen to a CD. And so I reached in, and there was an envelope, and I thought, what is that? You know, I didn't recognize it. And I looked at it, I opened up, and there was money. And I remember pumping gas at the gas station, crying, thinking, I can't believe he did that. He did. How could he do that? And his van blew up. And I'm just thinking, oh, it was really emotional.
Amen. Yeah. You know what was really awesome, though, about that whole experience? The next day, when I go out looking for a van, and I called a few places, and the first place I go look at, the first guy, you know, met with him, and he had this older van. It was the Dodge, the gray van, and everything was good. It had a lot of miles on it, but it was really good. The compression was great, the drive line, the brakes. I'm real good at checking out vehicles. My brother taught me well, and but he wanted quite a bit of money for it, and I just told him, I said, I don't have the budget for this, you know, but I thought it was the van I wanted. So I had the money in my hand, right? I thought maybe if I just have the money in my hand, he'll bite on it. He'll say, okay. And, you know, so I offered him a lot less than he was asking for this van. And I said, look, I said, I can offer you that much. And he looks at me and he says, I can't accept that. And I was like, oh, great. What is this guy going to be asking for this thing? And he looks at me and he says, I talked to God last night, and God told me he was sending me somebody today and not to charge him more than this amount. And it was the exact amount less that I was offering him in cash that I had just donated to you the day before. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you want to charge me less? He says, yep, God said so. And I'm like, amen. He was being obedient, you know. This guy was a Pentecostal guy. But I thought, wow, you know, an obedient Pentecostal guy. And he just said, that's what God said. So we made the deal. And here the amazing part was, not only the donation, right, that God just returned to me immediately the very next day, the exact amount.
For your obedience.
So him and I are driving down the road. I was driving, right, and he was actually in the passenger seat. We're driving down the road, and because we had to go across the railroad tracks to go get the bucket seats for the back. Mm-hmm. And his name was Dale. And so we're driving down the road, and every single railroad track was being torn out. This is down in West Frankfort. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so we're going one stop to another, exit after exit, trying to get across the railroad tracks. This 10-minute drive took over an hour. And I'm driving and started talking, and I said, yeah, I do cooking shows at 3ABN. And he says, really? He says, I've been watching 3ABN lately. They make a lot of sense to me. And of course, I'm just jumping up, all excited in my chair. I was like, no kidding. You know, just holding my composure, you know. But all the flags are going. I'm like, this is a divine appointment, you know. And every single question he had, the Holy Spirit had the answers for me.
Amen.
Whether it be about the Sabbath or the state of the dead or eternal hellfire, I mean, just one after another.
And you know what? That's a promise in the Bible, mm-hmm. that if we really study the Word of God, that God will bring it to our remembrance at the time we need it, Mark.
Yep, amazing. And then, you know, so we go through this whole thing, get the bucket seats, we get back, we pray together over the vehicle and with each other, and I thought that was amazing enough. Mm-hmm. And then I take off, right? And a couple months later, I get a letter from Jim Gilley, president of 3ABN, and he writes me a letter and says, hey, Mark, we ran into the guy that sold you your miracle van. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so here he's sitting down in a cafe at a counter, and Danny Shelton and Jim Gilley sit right next to him. Mm-hmm. And he hears them talking 3ABN stuff. And he's like, oh, I just sold a van to one of the guys that does the cooking shows there. And so they started a relationship. And they've been fellowshipping together.
But it is the miracle van, and it's a story that you've used. I've shared this story because it was one where I felt God saying, yes, go up there, even though I was unemployed at the time. And I thought, okay, this is money I probably shouldn't be using, but when somebody asks you to do something, you feel God saying go, you do it. And you did the same thing when God told you to give. And I used that money to buy seasonings and all kind of things to start my business. And if I am so glad that God used you that way. I would have never asked, and I know God always provides, but for Mark to heed the God calling him and saying, do this at a time when he knew he needed that money speaks volumes to me.
You have to allow God to orchestrate in your life. And the only way you're going to do that is by getting yourself out of the way and listening to God with obedience and action like you're talking. And we'll take this one step farther. This story goes on and on and on. Because 2 days later, when I'm driving down to Albuquerque, New Mexico, I hear this clankety, 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 clankety in the engine. And Melody calls me up on the phone and says, I don't know why, but God just told me to give you a call. I'm like, Melody, I'm driving down the road. I'm like 5 minutes away from Albuquerque. I can see it. I said, you got your computer up? And she's like, yeah. I said, find me a
Pep Boys
to pull over. Yeah, and so she finds me a Pep Boy. She says, well, take this exit. It was like 2 miles up the road. So I take that exit, and she says, turn left, and I turn left, and she says, it's about a mile down on the right-hand side. So I'm talking to her on the phone. I said, okay, I see it. I said, I'll let you go. And as soon as I pulled into the Pep Boys parking lot, boom, and the belt that holds the serpentine belt broke. And I would have not gone 5 more feet. And they actually had to move it and push it, right in the middle of the parking lot.
Mark, we could sit here for hours and tell you story after story after story of where God intervened or protected. Stories where God has protected me. Yes. I know I was coming out of San Antonio one time and had done this wonderful event, and I had done a 5K, and I was in my I think I was in my shorts and a t-shirt. I know I looked terrible. I didn't care. I was on my way home, and I remember just driving along thinking, calming down from the event of the weekend, taking in everything that had happened. And all of a sudden, I passed this big trailer. In Texas, they have big pickups, almost as big as the one I'm driving, and big trailer full of horses. I don't know how many horses were in that trailer. And I knew as I went by it, something told me to hurry up and get around it, and I did. And just as I got to my wheel was about at this gentleman's door on his pickup, I heard this explosion and one of the tires on that big trailer full of horses blew up and actually came over it and hit just barely the tail end of my vehicle.
Woo!
And I do believe if I would have been closer, I don't know what would have happened,
I'll tell you, we have angels surrounding us with that hedge of protection.
And I always pray for that.
Puts that hedge of protection around us.
He does. I always pray when I get in my car for God to please send your angels to protect me and put a hedge around this vehicle and make sure that where I end up, is in the safety of your arms.
And God can orchestrate in your life if you will get yourself out of the way and allow Him to do so. That's what He's done with Melody. That's what He's done with me. That's what He's doing with this ministry that we're doing. Our goal and projections are to get these messages out into a major mainstream community so that we can use this as the right arm of the message. And of course, we need your support, financial, prayers, and the list goes on and on. But, we're living proof of what God can do in your life. So open up your heart, get yourself out of the way, and listen to what God is asking you to do. And that's the important thing, isn't it?
It is. It is. And I just praise God every day for my earth angels, my best friends, and Mark is one of those. This is one of my best friends in the whole world here, and I am so thankful for him.
Amen. I'm thankful for you too. We do so much together. We do different events all over the country.
We do. We've done them together. Sometimes if our schedule permits, we can come in and do a weekend for you.
There's your invite. Give her a call. And we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Be blessed.
God bless.
Hi, Mark Anthony here, and I'm with Abigail Fortier, and this is Abby for short, right? Where are you from?
I'm from Florida.
Florida, down south. You've got kind of a unique name, Abigail Fortier. I think if you were, is that French or?
French.
So you could say it with a little accent. My name is Abigail Fortier. Chef Abigail Fortier, how are you today?
Good.
See, you've got a name. Everybody would think, wow, she must be a real French chef or something, you know? Yeah, I love it. Hi, I'm Chef Abigail Fortier. I find a lot of things in Vegas. I find these people that are English, you know, and they've never been to another country, but they actually play with their titles that way, and people think they're from another country. But, you know, the American chefs are still the best. They really are, because we learn everything and where other countries usually just know that particular cuisine. So, hey, you want to make some bread?
Yeah.
Have you made bread before?
I did it when I was homeschooled, but I was really little.
Really? Well, we've got a bread maker here, which they only run $75 to $100, $125. They're not that expensive. And I thought maybe we could experiment and see how the bread turns out.
Okay.
Are you pretty good at recipes? Okay, I've got a recipe book here. This is what I do. I got a recipe book and I throw a lot of recipes in here. This actually came with a bread book recipe. And what I normally do is I create my own recipes. A lot of the recipes in here, I just have not found a really good one. It's a nice foundation, but I've actually tweaked it to where my recipe is what I like to do. And because it's just a lot better. And so I'm gonna let you go buy my recipe, and one thing about recipes, you got to be really make sure that you've got the exact recipe in order. When it comes to bread machines, here's a insert, but the items have to go in here in an exact order, because later on this is going to start turning around, and so if it's not in the exact order, it doesn't work.
So is it in this order or that order?
Hopefully both. We'll have to see, but it'll be in this order for sure.
You wrote that a little bit differently.
It'll be in this order for sure. Okay, what do we got first?
We got 1 3/4 cup of warm water.
Okay, I got that.
Next is our 1/4 cup of oil.
Okay. And I'm just using olive oil here, so got that. 1/4 cup oil.
Then half of brown sugar.
Yeah, 1/2 cup. Yeah. And whoa! I'm gonna be careful because I don't want this plopping in my face. There we go. We got it.
Then 1 teaspoon is salt.
Yeah, tablespoon.
Tablespoon.
Okay, we'll put that in there. Okay.
Then 2 cups of pastry flour.
Okay.
1 pastry flour.
Pastry flour, whole wheat flour, and gluten flour. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna mix all 3 of these together, which these are all whole wheat flour. I always get the organic, non-GMO flour, whole wheat flour, pastry flour, and gluten flour. And we're just gonna give this a little mix, because if that gluten all goes into one spot, it'll just turn into a big ball and will never incorporate throughout the bread.
That sounds kind of gross.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. You end up with a really horrible bread. So you definitely got to mix these together like this. What do you think? Is that good enough?
Maybe a little bit more to get the big clumps out.
Okay. How's that? I think that'll work. And then this is going to go right in here. And I just try to be careful just to not make a mess. And this is basically going to be floating on top of the water and the oil and the brown sugar and the salt that's in there.
Cool.
And boom, just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just flattening this out and making a little pocket there in the middle. And that's where the yeast goes. So you can put the yeast in there.
Right in the little pocket?
Right in the middle, yep. That easy. This goes right into the machine. It's got a little locking mechanism. And you close it up. And we're going to select what number's on that?
It says number 5.
Okay, course number 5. And we hit the start. Oh, that was really tough, wasn't it? I was really tough to make homemade bread. I did not know it was this difficult. If I'd known it was this difficult, I would have never made bread in my life. So you think we can make it? You know, the only reason I do this is because, to me, I would rather eat the healthier breads rather than the store-bought stuff that's all manufactured with chemicals and all these things. And so, okay, we've got 3 hours and 35 minutes. Guess what this is?
Flour?
This is a 25-pound bag of all organic. See, it says certified organic. So this is what I've been buying, is the organic non-GMO flours. And I found out it's actually cheaper, half the price for the loaves that I make than the expensive stuff in the grocery stores. So I'm saving a ton of money by just buying in bulk like this and making my own bread. So pretty cool. But we've got 3 hours and 35 minutes. So I guess we can get cleaned up and just wait around until the next one shows up. Hey, you ready to see what it looks like?
Yep.
Yes, we've been waiting. We've been waiting. 3 hours and 35 minutes, and it's ready to go. Now this is really hot coming out of here. The handle's pretty good, but that's the way it's going to come out, just like that. And I do need to.
That smells good.
Definitely, doesn't it? Yeah. You definitely need to use something protective when you do this, because it can really be hot. And you just need to shake that baby out of there, just like that.
Ooh, look at all the steam.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's steaming hot. Look at that. And but that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. You can see a little bit here that might have been some flour that stuck to the side of the pan, but that's just fine.
But you know what's really good with bread?
Huh.
Especially homemade bread? Well, every Friday, my family used to make this bread dip. And so, I thought that it would be good to make some.
Okay.
Okay, so you just need some olive oil in here.
Lots of olive oil.
It's gonna take a while, like the bread.
Bum, 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 bum. At least we don't have to wait as long as we did for the bread.
Yep.
That is kind of a slower moving. That should be plenty though.
It's good.
Yeah, just make a little bit for us.
And we add some garlic.
So garlic and oil and salt, that's kind of your key ingredients, right?
But then you need some basil, just a little bit. And some black pepper.
And any kind of pepper would work too.
And then some salt.
Salt. There we go.
Then you just mix it all together.
Just like that, huh? And you're done. Now what the gourmet restaurants do, you know what they do, don't you?
What?
They're just gonna go right like that.
And then they put the...
And they actually serve it. This goes right to your table like that. And your bread is in another container. And I'm just gonna cut a piece off of here. It's probably too hot to cut. Normally you'd wanna wait a little while, but look how beautiful that is. That turned out really good, didn't it? And so just like that, we've got some bread here for our dip. So that easy. We've got homemade bread without all the chemicals, without all the pesticides. We've got the dip. You can use this for toast. In fact, what we do is I put it in baggies. I usually cut it in half. Sometimes if it's higher risen, you can just cut it in half, and then I can just take slices off of this, boom, boom, boom. The leftover pieces, you can turn it into breadcrumbs, stuffing, you know, things like that as well. Croutons, you know, which we've got a couple episodes on that. But doesn't that look good? Mm-hmm. All homemade. Well, amen. I should have been a cook. You should be a cook. Hey, that's all the time we got for you today. We're just going to sit here and enjoy our food, and we'll catch you next time in the kitchen.
Well, I hope you enjoyed some of those wonderful dishes that we cooked up, and it's going to save you lots of money. You have leftovers, and that's the other thing. Most of the time when you go out and eat, there's no leftovers.
No.
I like my leftovers, Mark. Sometimes the food tastes so much better the second day.
Exactly,
It
exactly.
does. So hopefully you will apply some of these recipes to your meals at home, save that money, and live healthy. And I mean, just be a
and
picture of
we've
health.
got recipes on our websites.
Yes.
You all know the routine. Here's our phone numbers. Here's our websites. Here's the ways you can contribute to our ministry, and the list goes on and on. But you know, we have a passion. We have a passion to help you not only get healthy physically, but mentally and spiritually. Mm-hmm. And now, I guess we have another new passion to help you get financially successful, because you're going to save a ton of money when you start eating healthier.
Don't ever let anybody tell you eating healthy is expensive.
Yeah, because it's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
I found that out myself.
Well, there you go, Mark and Melody in the kitchen, and we will see you next time for another episode of The Home Message.